Good morning, folks. It's Pete Thorn, and I hope some of you will join me here on Sunday Live. I think this is number 38 today. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay, first of all. And there's Nathan. Nathan, you are first. It's just you and me, man. What's going on? Yeah, let me know if the audio is okay. And if you guys can hear me loud and clear using the Samson G-Track this week, and my new USB microphone working good. I hope. We got Double D in Baltimore. We got Robert. Robert says, how's Germany? I'm back already, man. And Ahmoud says, Ahmoud says, happy coffee. And I should go make more. I got up, because I've been up since 4. I've already had 3 cups of coffee, jet lagged and all that, because I just got back yesterday. So I went to bed yesterday at like 10 after 8. I just couldn't do it. I normally my thing with jet lag is do not go to bed before 10 or 10:30 because you're just going to wake up at 3 or 4 a.m., which is exactly what happened. But I slept from 8 till 4. So I was cool with that. I got up and actually started editing video from GetCon. I had no time to edit there. I just shot video. So I've got a video coming out tomorrow that I'm really excited about, actually. It's got Adam Neely and Jamie Lewis from thebassist.net. 2 really good bass players that I met there. I'd never met them before. And we did a lesson. I got to play my new bass. Got this new Warwick Bass, which isn't here. They're shipping it to me, but I played it in the lesson. And it's kind of a lesson geared towards like bass for the guitar player. So for guitarists wanting to play bass, how to think like a bass player, right hand techniques, tones, using the P bass pickup or the J bass pickups, and when you would use both, when you would use active electronics in a bass or just go passive, all that good kind of stuff. So I'm really excited about it. It's a cool video, I think, with some good information for guitar players that maybe want to double on bass and up their bass game. So yeah, who else is here? Let me see here. JV says, let me ask your favorite clone pedal. I really like the Archer. I like the Tumnus too. I think it's really good. Tumnus. But I tend to use the Archer most. It's nice and small is one really nice thing about it, so it'll fit on your board. The Clone is great too by what's the company that makes the KLONE, the Clone pedal. I also have their Big Muff here, which I'm going to do a video of, and it sounds really good to me too. But yeah, I've used the Archer mainly. It just fits on my board. It's so tiny and sounds really good. And they made me a nice one that supposedly has some secret special sauce, like different components that they put in Jeff Beck's or something, because he uses it as well. Anyway, I quite like it. Judd says, top performance at GetConBeat. Thanks. I got to do the live stream on Thursday night, and we had a lively panel discussion all about rock and roll and trying to not make it too safe and stuff like that. And it started out being a discussion about big modelers and pedals for tone, like pedals in front of clean amps and modelers versus the old school sort of a great big tube amp cranked up with maybe just a few pedals. Blueberry smoothie. But it kind of turned into like a discussion really about where rock music's headed and keeping the danger in it and stuff like that. And I thought it was a fun discussion. And I realized something after the discussion, actually, which was that I'm always up in arms over kind of volume restrictions in clubs and stuff like that, and sound men getting down on you for loud stage volume and all that kind of stuff. One thing I thought of was, like, when you go to dance clubs, if anybody goes to dance clubs, I don't really go, but if you've ever been to a club like that, or anywhere where there's hip hop going on, or house music, or electronic music of any kind, it's friggin' loud, really loud. Like, there's nobody in there going, turn it down. That just doesn't happen. But in rock clubs, it's like down, down, well, quiet stage volume, quiet, quiet, quiet. Like it ain't quiet in the, when it's going. It's loud as shit. So anyway, I just thought about that. Like, God, maybe that's why kids are more drawn towards electronic music and stuff like that, because it's kind of crazier and more less controlled and stuff these days in many ways. Yeah. So, great hangout with Rick, says Trolls to Jim. Yeah, he was great. Rick Beotto, another new friend I made there. And he was terrific. We did a video for his channel, and we did one for mine too, which I will edit and get it up later in the week. He's an excellent guitar player. He played very little guitar there, but I sort of forced a guitar into his hands, and he was like, "Oh, I haven't played guitar all week. You're gonna make me play?" And then he proceeded to just completely knock me out with his. He's got a master's in jazz, so jazz guitar. So he's a great guy, really knowledgeable about all kinds of music. Phil's asking, have I heard of Kingsley Amps from Canada? I have heard of them. I haven't tried them, though. Yanni's in New Hampshire. And Durst says, Samson mic is okay, like that Audio-Technica better. Yeah, I really like them both. I like the Audio-Technica, too. It's just in my bag over there, and this one is sitting right here, so I decided to go with the Samson this week. They both seem to work really well. And Leon says, you were teasing the new amps way too much at GetCon. Need more info. Ha. Well, it's coming soon, man. John's promised me NAMM at the latest. So, it's good. It's going to be quick. We were just waiting for circuit board or something to build a prototype, but everything else is in place. I mean, everything else is there and ready to go. So, hopefully, I should have. I mean, I have to have if it's going to be ready for NAMM, but prototype within the next few weeks, I would think. And then we can start ironing out any problems, and it shouldn't be NAMM. Has to be NAMM, or I'm going to get John in a headlock. No, we're seriously, he's excited about it too, and I am too. Because I just think it's going to be unique and offer people things that they just haven't been able to do exactly like this before and stuff. It's just going to be a supremely usable tube amp, so in all situations. So, going to be great. Are there any good attenuators that are sub $600? My favorite is the Power Station, the Frayette, for that much dough, and it's exactly that much money. $600, and it's not an attenuator; it's a load reamp. But I think that is the best way to do it. Load reamp gets you there and keeps the feel, because you're still with that particular load. It's a tube amp load, so you've got the connected to the speaker, kind of impedance curve happening via the tube amp, and then you've also got the impedance modeling via the reactive load sort of thing, which you can tune on that unit. And I really like it. I have one. I think it's good. What's my favorite EQ pedal? I don't really have a favorite EQ pedal. I don't really use them that much, but a good old Boss graphic seems to work great. Oh, the MXR is good. I have the MXR 10 band, and I've used it in the loop of an amp for all kinds of stuff. And I used to use it years ago, and it sounded really good. Like if I loaded down an amp with before the days of readily available reactive loads, I'd use like a hot plate or something, but it always kind of dulled the sound. Well, I could EQ that somewhat with the MXR 10 band in the loop, and it, an EQ pedal is a great solo boost too. No matter which way you look at it, they've all got a gain slider on them, and you can boost mids and stuff, and so you can get some pretty cool, like, kind of boosted solo tones. It's not unlike what a Sur Coco Boost does. Sur Coco Boost is a mid boost that also allows you to volume boost. So, and I love that sort of thing for lead tones. We already got 220 people online. That's great. Super stoked. Jeff says, got your latest CD a few days ago and can't stop playing it. Thank you, man. I'm glad you like it. I got to do some more promo for the CD. I feel like I've been doing so much and I haven't really done enough to let people know that I've got a new record out. Like, gotta kind of continually keep pushing it out there. So you've reminded me that's something I should do this week. And Eric says, congrats on the beautiful bass. Yeah, I got a new Warwick bass. It'll be here probably, within the next couple weeks, I guess, because they're shipping it to me. So I'm really excited. You guys will start to see it in my videos. Will the bridge on the blue guitar be available aftermarket as well? Yes. It's a Wilkinson Bridge. So, I'm sure he wants to sell as many as he can. The news is that we have received a bunch of them, and they just I got to go and put one on my guitar because it's a finished production. I've had the prototype on my blue guitar forever. It's been I guess since NAMM, but they want me to. There's the final kind of finished one now, so I'm gonna go just check that out and stuff and start using them. Show us the Warwick bass, says Rented. I don't have it here. I shipped it. I had them ship it because I was already flying with my Sur guitar, so it would be an extra bag charge and all that to fly back with. And I just thought I don't want to deal with carrying something else through the airport. And why not just ship it? It'll cost probably less than the excess bag fee. Yeah, so I'll have it soon. But there's the video that is going up tomorrow on my YouTube on bass playing is the little bass lesson we did, which I'm super happy with. But it's 45 minutes long and with two great bass players, so I think it's a super cool video. Lots of great tips in it. The bass is in there, which is one of the two basses that we used in the video. So you guys can check it out. And I'm also actually just editing. I got to stain it and all that stuff. Maybe you guys saw. So I'm editing the video of kind of getting to do all that, the finishing process. We actually put a GoPro on the spray gun when they were spraying the satin lacquer on it. And so you can see the spray gun going all around the base, spraying the lacquer and stuff. It's a neat video. So that'll be out this week too. Really fun. Double D says the amps versus digital roundtable was fantastic. Took a while to sort questions. Great references during your intro. I wrote it that day. I wrote the questions, and I was really slammed that week, and I just I really came up with the questions and sort of the intro. I just wrote a few hours before we did it, and but I'm glad you guys liked it. I thought it was a great discussion. I liked Rick's comment about how it's all become about convenience, and rock and roll isn't necessarily supposed to be convenient, I like that, like not, trying to get too lazy about it. I mean, I can remember bringing 12-space rack in the back of my hatchback and stuff to rehearsals and cabinets and 10 guitars, not 10, but probably like 5 or 6, to some rehearsals where I was hauling everything. And I remember my Swedish friend Jürgen, I was loading all this crap in my car one time, and I had a system to get the 12-space rack over the back bumper and stuff, but it was just like, I was killing myself doing it. I was like, why do I bring all this stuff? Like, look at this. What am I supposed to do? And I just got carrying it all in my car, and he looked at me and he said, I suggest you keep loading. So, in very Swedish fashion. Great guy. He's the bass player in Mule, Government Mule. T. Crane says, hey Pete, odd question, but how does health insurance work when you're on the road in Japan? Well, good question. You can buy travel insurance. I generally don't. The reality is in many foreign countries, if you're just going to the doctor for a checkup or a doctor visit, which I've done, you can just pay cash and it's not expensive, generally speaking. I actually went the last time because I was having a couple issues and stuff, and it was fine. But I think I spent, I don't know. I mean, maybe all told with some medication and stuff like that is maybe $100 or something. So I just do that. But yeah, if you break your arm or something, you should. It's probably the safest thing to have some travel insurance. Most insurance providers in the U.S. will reimburse, I do believe, if you have outside their network health cost, if you can prove that you were overseas, but you'll have to pay out of pocket for it. So the safest thing would just be to get travel insurance for sure, just in case. Ryra, everybody's saying. That's the Rock Your Repaired Amp, right? That's the Ryra clone pedal. That's what people were talking about there in the chat. Greetings from Norway. Have I had any experience with the Sir Rufus Reloaded? Yeah, a little bit. It's got the octave fuzz sound in it, I do believe, as opposed... Have I got it backwards? I think the Rufus Reloaded is the one where they did the Octavia kind of thing. I like both the Rufus pedals. I think they're really good. Tim Russell says you just got a Friedman Beod. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, it's a great sounding pedal. What's a good amp to pair with a Marshall for a dual amp live setup, says Matthew? Well, some kind of Fender is the classic, generally speaking. A Vox could work too, but like if we're talking about big amps, like, JCM 800 or, 50 or 100 watt or a Plexi or something like that, the classic is to kind of do either a twin or a super reverb, I guess. If you had a super reverb with a 50 watt Marshall and a 412, you'd have an amazing sounding live rig. I mean, for clean to dirty all the way across the board. If you're talking about smaller amps, like maybe a Marshall combo or something, I guess like if it's like a little Marshall combo or something, you could use a deluxe reverb or something. You'd probably be in pretty good shape. Like a little Marshall 40 watt DSL 40 or something with a deluxe reverb. That'd probably be a nice little AB rig, I would think. Hughes and Kettner thoughts, says John Franklin. I played through a lot of them this week. They're nice. They're good, and they're doing some cool things moving forward, and that's why I was happy the fellow that was a Hughes and Kettner artist and endorser was on the panel the other night on Thursday. I'd have to spend some more time, like, kind of dialing them in and trying to record with them. I thought they sounded good, pretty good, really. I'm super picky because I'm, I play Sir and everything, and it's like they're the greatest, I think. So, but I thought they sounded good for. They had, in particular, a little Tube 20 watt amp that sounded really good to me. Excuse me. I can't remember. It might have been the Tube Meister 18 or Tube, but there was I can't remember exactly the names, but pretty good, not too bad at all. Good little amps. That's my honest opinion. If I was going to criticize, they're a little dry sounding. I don't know, but like there's, like I don't mean dry, no reverb or something. I mean like there's a little bit of a. Almost like when an amp has stiff filtering or something, but or just like the overall EQ or something. But I thought they were really cool. I felt pretty comfortable playing through them and stuff. It was, McPherson says, do you think the feel of a certain tone or sound is as important as the actual tone itself? You find that nice feeling tone is more addictive. Well, the way that a sound makes you feel when you're playing it, I think is important, because then you're going to play differently. You're probably going to, play into the sound more, and it's going to affect your enjoyment, which is going to come across in your performance. So I think that, it's really important. You can't have a sound that sounds really good but doesn't feel good to play. And I sort of think they go one and the same. I don't know if there's that many sounds that sound great but don't feel good to play. I think that generally if a sound sounds great to me, it's because I'm responding to the feel, and it's a big cyclical thing. But, it looks like I'm drinking a cup of cement. It is kind of like cement, yeah. It's just blueberries and Greek yogurt and a little bit of protein powder and almond milk. Morning. Glad I did the Rick Beotto vid. Yeah, me too. It was really fun, actually. He asked some great questions about Chris Cornell and Soundgarden tunings and things like that. He had a real, real deep knowledge of that stuff that I was pretty knocked out by, more than just about anybody I've ever met. He knew the tunings of certain songs that I can't even remember. So And, like I was impressed with his open mind. He loves Kurt Cobain, he loves punk rock and stuff, but he's got a master's in jazz. So I love that. Like people that are, he's just, if folks have a master's in jazz, but they don't understand rock and roll or whatever, that's okay too, or they don't like it. The most common thing is that I find, like, that people don't really, they go one way or the other with the jazz, rock, or country, or, they're a little bit like down one road. He really seemed to have an affinity and a love and appreciation for a lot of different kinds of music. And I really enjoyed that about him. Steve says, you really did a good job at hosting that panel. Really cool. Would be great to see you collaborate with Rick again. Yeah, I would love to. I'm going to put on another video this week because we did one for his channel and it's already out right now. It's actually in my GetCon playlist. If you guys haven't seen it, you can go check it out. But I did one with him this week as well, and kind of trying to approach it from like I asked him a bunch of different questions about production and cool studio tools that people could maybe think about getting if they want to put together a small home studio. What's really important. But one of the interesting, and it ended up being a fairly sort of advanced lesson. But I asked him like about jazz guitar for the rock player, kind of like I did about bass guitar for the guitarist, but jazz guitar for the rock player. Like, can you give us some tips on, like, because I just feel like I've never played jazz really, and I don't feel like that. It's actually true. I never have. But kind of thinking along the lines, mentality of a jazz player, that kind of thing. And so it's a good lesson. So I'll get that edited and up later in the week. Anita Ross says, "Hey Pete, looking good." Why, thank you. Do the best I can for early on a Sunday morning. Please make a demo for Pod HD 500, how to create a great patch. It's an older product, and I don't even know if they're really pushing it anymore. I do have one around somewhere, but I'm kind of a Helix guy when it comes to the Line 6. Okay, Leon says, dance music, though, is pre-recorded, though, so produced and sounds great. Volume is okay when things sound perfect. Well, yeah, but, it's nothing like a loud rock and roll band banging it out in a club, right? It doesn't have to sound perfect. It's like part of the thing was danger, what we were talking about the other day, I mean, I've got clear memories of going to see, like a band here in L.A., Plexi. They were great club band that never really made it out of the L.A. clubs, I don't think, but the band was called Plexi, and the guitar player played 200-watt Plexis in clubs. And the bass player had 2 SVT cabs and 2 SVTs. Like, so the cabs were on their sides, stacked sideways with the heads. It sounded amazing. You could kind of make out the vocals and drums. It was perfect. You say perfect? That's perfect to me. Yeah, it was great. We need the next grunge type revolution. Yeah, agreed. I think so too. The problem is there's no business anymore, right? Like the thing with grunge. And Rick's, I think I was maybe talking about this in Rick's video that we made the other day, but the thing about grunge was that those labels were clamoring to sign those bands when it happened. And like Soundgarden had total creative control over their musical and artistic destiny. Everything from the album covers to the videos to the records. They had complete and total creative freedom with the big money machine still behind them. So it was almost like the most ideal situation that you can be in the record industry in the last 50 years or something. I mean, there was they weren't having to please anybody other than themselves, and that's why we got those records. And the problem is that the business doesn't really exist like that anymore. It's just not that level anymore. I guess the equivalent now would be if you built a massive following on YouTube or Instagram or something all on your own, and you had this huge social media presence, and then there's going to be companies that are kind of clamoring to work with you and jump on that bandwagon at that point. You might be able to say, well, I'm not changing my thing. Like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do if you want to work with me. And, yeah, I would say that would be great if there was... because you still sort of you need the help of those companies, a label or something. When you're at the level of, like, if you want to be like a Muse or the Killers or something on that level. You can't at that point, you can't do it all on. You can go really, really, really far on your own these days with just Instagram and YouTube and stuff, and putting on independent music and doing things by yourself. But when you're at that level, you're touring and playing big festivals, and you're gonna need some help, And yeah, my fear is just that there's not the budgets and stuff at that level to do what happened in the grunge era, which was, just kind of like you could hole up in some great studio for 6 months, like some of these bands probably did during that time, to make, an album like Super Unknown or, Melancholy, or these different records that people put out back then. And with great engineers and producers and stuff. So, but yeah, we do need the next grunge type revolution. It's just not going to look like the last one, but something would be nice, wouldn't it? Just in terms of effects quality, no amp sims, no size weight issue. Do I think the modulation effects pedal qualities these days is as good as older classic rack units like TC2290 and stuff? That's from Alex B. Yeah, I do. Yeah, totally. You can get tons of power going in the Strymon stuff, or the H9, or I think H9 is incredible for the H3000 sounds and stuff like that. I haven't compared them with an old H. It would be, I guess, an interesting experiment to compare the algorithms to see how close you can get it to sound. I've got one of those Korg, STD 3000 or whatever delay pedals here with the preamp in and stuff, the reissue of it. It'd be interesting to compare one of those to one of the old ones and see how close it is. But yeah, man, it's like there's no question the gear now is, in my opinion, the best it's ever been. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to get the greatest versions of guitar sounds that modulated delay, or mod, whatever you want. You're gonna be able to get there now, easier and cheaper than ever before, I think. So Chris says, I think it's the lack of words in electronic music, lower frequencies all around. I'm going to guess that you were trying to say, Chris, I think it's the lack of mids in electronic music. And I think you're probably right about that. Mid-range sound people are scared of, kind of where the ear is really sensitive. But the lows will do damage, from as I understand it, just as bad, if not worse, than, a lot of people say watch out for the in-ears that have 10 drivers in them and stuff. Any chance of a lower watt PT amp with a built-in reactive load? That's all I can say. John's gonna get mad at me if I talk about that amp too much. What's happening with the new amp? But it's gonna be awesome. It's going to be amazing. Let's see here. There is a bar that I go to. Their live shows are always loud. That's from Sonic Gamer 91. Good, as it should be. Loud and proud. Moving down in the chat. Any tips on must-haves for home recording? I think just a really, really good interface these days. Either, UA or Apogee, something like that. I have the UA stuff that I use now, and I think it's great because they've got the virtual mic pre's, the Unison stuff, the plug-in amps and stuff that are fantastic. So you can really get some great stuff done quickly and easily. So a great interface, something like the Apollo Twin, is a must. Beyond that, you need probably a mic or two, and you need some good studio monitors, something that you feel comfortable listening on, that you feel like you can do good mixes on. Those are the most important things. So yeah. Opinion about Fender Player Series. Not really. I don't know too much about those. Sorry. Did I finish my bass? Yes, the bass is done. It was basically, no pun intended. It was just a couple days of. It's kind of amazing how fast I can finish them, because they use this oven to dry the lacquer. So I thought maybe after spray lacquer, maybe it's going to sit around for a week. And normally it probably would, but they have this incredible equipment there. And so after staining, they spray a coat of lacquer on it, goes in an oven and dries it instantly, and they sand it later that day. And then they do another coat of lacquer, sand it again, and then it's basically ready to be the next day to be assembled. So yeah, it was ready and done when I left and played it on the last couple things I did there. What will be the next grunge type revolution in music to overthrow the industry like Nirvana and grunge? I don't know. I mean, Nirvana came out of nowhere when you think about it, right? Grunge and... God, somebody's in my hallway and they're just like talking so loud. It's like, beat it. What are you doing? You guys can probably hear it coming through the mic, I bet. What do I think about Keeley Oxblood pedal? You know, I'm interested to try it now. I have one, and I must say that I've never had a chance to actually plug it in, which sounds dumb, but... I've got one, and now I want to try it. I guess it's their Kalani kind of pedal, isn't it? I think. I'm pretty sure it is. Moving up in the chat here. Let's see. I lost my place in the chat. We got 335 people online. That is awesome. Sorry. Trying to figure out where it was here. Okay, I'm just going to start from here. Somebody's saying don't get sick. Yeah, people were saying take care of yourself and stuff. And if you get hurt or sick, heaven forbid. I guess that's this, you know, people asking about the health insurance and stuff like that. Yeah, you don't want to get sick when you're on tour. I've been really lucky with that. Like, very rare I've been super ill. On a couple gigs that were a little bit scarier nightmares, but for the most part, I've been really lucky. Most efficient way to improve timing in lead playing. Practice using a metronome always, or playing to a drum machine. That is the most important thing. And if you do that, that should be a huge help. But on top of that, one thing that I would really recommend doing, there's some Paul Gilbert lessons that you can maybe seek out on YouTube where he talks about playing rhythm for 2 bars and then playing lead for 2 bars, and playing rhythm for 2 bars, playing lead for 2 bars. So, and I think that that's a great thing. Like, kind of jam on a rhythm riff, you know. You know, I don't know. What's it, like, you could do the lick to what's the song? Cheap Sunglasses. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm doing 2 bars of rhythm and then 2 bars of lead, and I'm just singing it. But the point is, you know, play a rhythm riff. Just pick any rhythm riff. Turn on a metronome and lock in with the rhythm and tap your foot, and now go into a lead lick after 2 bars of playing the rhythm. I love that for working on kind of playing, you know, getting better timing going in your solos, because you're always coming back to that rhythm, and you tend to tap your foot when you play rhythm. A lot of people don't tap their foot when they play lead. So try tapping your foot when you're playing rhythm, and you get that really groovy thing going. And Paul really has that. Even when he's playing really, really fast, he's got this very articulate rhythm going through his lead stuff. So I liked that approach. I thought it was really cool. Okay, moving down a little bit. Let's see here. Beotto wants to see my ring. There it is. Skellys from the Great Frog in London, Soho. If I was going to buy a piece of gear, what would I buy? Well, I just bought a bass this week, Warwick Streamer, so that's enough for now. They gave me a nice price on an artist price, but I still had to pay for it, and it was not cheap. What are my thoughts on the Synergy preamp modules? Pretty good from the ones that I've tried. I like it. I haven't messed with them that much, but I did play an early kind of prototype version of the little 30-watt head with. It's got a, you know, it's got like a volume-based treble kind of clean channel in it, and then you can pop one module into it, and it's a cathode bias 30-watt Thule EL34 kind of thing. EL34s, I think. And I thought it sounded really good. The plexi module in it and stuff, really nice. Does my guitar travel or fly with me in the cabin? I put it underneath now. I've got a great case, an SKB I-Series, and it's durable as hell. And I just, rather than dealing with overhead bins and stuff, bolt-on neck guitars, I'd be a little more wary about Les Paul type guitars. But man, the cases are so good now that it's like this case is like indestructible. I've got it sitting right here beside me, actually. Let me see if I can show you guys what it looks like. It's like one of these, okay? And so it's like this molded kind of situation. And then on this end, it's got wheels. See that? So you can pick it up and kind of drag it and roll it. And obviously I'm picking it up over my head right now at the table. It ain't that heavy. Really, really good case that I've had for a few years now. So that's the SKB I-Series. I really like it. And it'll fit a Strat or a Tele. It's kind of a universal fit. Hello from Edmonton, says Don Beck. What's up, homie? How you doing? I'm going to move down here. Chris says, got an Archer Klon, and then heard about the Ryra pedal. I decided the Klon is really good enough. Oh, the Icon. I think that's the Icon Archer and I didn't want to chase that tone any further. Yeah, that's kind of the way I feel about it. They're all pretty good, to be honest. Like a Tumnus, the Archer, the Ryra, they all get me there. I'm not as picky as people might think that I am, I guess. I'm picky about amps. Pedals, I'm not that picky. What about a 59 Bassman? I like 59. I love 59 Bassmans. It's basically, it's the American version of a JTM 45 or vice versa. Great amps. 51 410 Bassman is a really good, I'd be happy renting one of those and using some pedals for a gig. I'd feel confident about that. I think it's a terrific amp. What's my biggest tip to an intermediate musician? Play with other people. Write songs. Get out and play. Get the experience of playing with all kinds of people and put yourself out there and make some connections and contacts and stuff, and you'll find out where you're deficient, where you're not. Go out and listen to music a lot. One of my biggest fears with the internet thing these days, and even with the GetCon thing and everything like that, I want to make sure that YouTube videos are great and playing online and Instagram and all that business, but people playing in bands should be still where it's at, making music with other people. So that'd be get out and play a lot and, move from being an intermediate musician to being more of an advanced musician through playing with others and stuff. 362 people online, that's great. Larry says, love the video with Rick, Phil X, and myself at the bar in Germany. Yeah, that was a very spontaneous kind of wind down to the end of the day, and it was a nice discussion. The fact that Phil just kind of showed up made it, even more fun. It was great. What's the best AC30 in a box pedal? I like the Boss one, and I like the Wampler one. And I've done videos for both of them. Both those sound really good to me. Regards from Ireland, says Stuart. Hi, Stuart. More preamp live somebody would like to see me do a demo of. I happen to have one right here. I haven't had a chance to try it yet, really. I've got so many pedals to make videos for, but I've got one of those that they sent me, so I want to mess with it for sure. Seems interesting, in the fact that you can kind of model to some degree the tone of another pedal into it, and then you could run it in your amp's effects loop, and then maybe if your amp doesn't do an AC30 sound, you could have an AC30 kind of preamp in there, and then in my PT100 preamp, I could, or effects loop, I could switch that in and kind of have that tone. That's kind of neat, I think. Vintage amps and guitars I like. Oh man, Tele Strats, 335s, Les Pauls, vintage Plexis, super reverbs, Princeton reverbs, AC30s. I really want an AC30 at some point with the top boost added on the back. I don't know why those ones always sound the best to me. The kind of 62 sort of, when the top boost first came around, it was added like a kit and with original speakers and stuff. If I could find a nice one. Yeah, man. Peter's in Santa Monica, and he says hello. What's up, Peter Evans? Benjamin says, have the clean stuff covered. Need a great club-sized Marshall driven amp. What do I suggest? Club-sized. If you just want the Marshall thing, like, and you don't need a clean channel, I mean, depends what you want to spend. You know, I guess there's lots of considerations, whether it's cheaper or more. Dirty Shirley's a really nice amp. The SL67 from Sir is fantastic and it has a great master volume. So both those amps have nice masters, and they'll get you into the club volume territory, no problem. Those are the two I would recommend for just single channel amps. Check out the Dirty Shirley and the SL67 from Sir. Do I like my Boss Metal Zone Wazza pedal? It's a huge improvement over the old one, in my mind. If you can hear it, you know, in the video I did for it, the two voicings, the custom voicing sounds so much better than the original voicing to me. It makes it, oh, okay, this is like a really usable metal pedal now. Tongue Sol tubes. Tongue Sol, they're supposed to be pretty good. I don't know about the longevity and stuff like that. And I know there's a thing where you can't use the Tongue Sol 12AX7 in the cathode follower preamp tube stages, like V2 of a Marshall, where they don't work or something. I do remember trying some Tongue Sols when I had my 5150, and they dropped the volume of the amp in a dramatic way in certain positions. That was really weird to me, and then I'd pop a JJ in and it'd be right back. I was like, that's weird. So I kind of quit trying at that point because I had a couple issues. But I know people seem to like them. Some people think their 12AX7 is the coolest modern production one. How about a Pete Thorn antique signature model? That'd be cool. Okay. Are you ever using either the two notes or the aux, says Benjamin Parker? I use the aux all the time, and I've used the two notes units a lot on the road and stuff. And I have the two notes live. Chris says the Cornell segment was the best part, I guess, of Rick's video. Thank you, sir. Could I take Phil X in a fight? I don't think so. I think he'd kick my ass. He's just bigger than I am. He, and he's got that energy. So hopefully we'll never have to find out. I'd have to train hard. Respect all music, says Chris Cam. Yeah, I agree. Wondering what I think about the Cage learning system. I think it's cool. I think it's really cool because it's just going to give you a better understanding of anything you can do to see chord tones on the neck is a good thing. And if you're thinking about the progression the chords are going by, and if you can see where the notes are on the neck, it's going to help you come up with better solos. And it's going to help you play better rhythm and lead guitar if you can be visualizing the notes on the neck. So I think it's fine if it helps you, you know. Somebody's in the super chat here. It's Simon Keast. And he says, how do I set up my clean channel for overdrives and distortions? I have a Pettyjohn and an Empress on my board. I would set it up to sound kind of neutral at first. Like, not too bright, not too dark. If you set the thing is, if you like to have a real scooped clean sound, real sparkly, it's probably going to affect your choice of drives more than if you can just set it up kind of neutral. So you kind of have to ask yourself, what's the most important thing? Like, you obviously don't want to sacrifice the sound of your clean sound. Maybe you don't play clean that much, though. I don't know. It just depends. The easiest way to dial in pedals, I should say the most versatile sort of thing that I've found is that if you have a neutral clean, then it'll work with the most pedals because it's the most sort of like, you have to remember that an overdrive or a distortion or a fuzz going into an amplifier, it's really going to accentuate whatever the amp, like it kind of blows up the sound going into the front of the amp, if that makes sense. So it's like when you add distortion to a signal, if you've got an amp set in a specific kind of way, it's going to accentuate those specifics. Okay, so if you have a lot of bass or if you have a lot of sparkly top end, it's really going to push those factors. So the more neutral you set up the clean channel, the easier it is to dial in across a wide range of pedals. Now, if you've got a certain pedal that was maybe designed to go into a really bright clean channel, for example, and I'll give you an example of that. The Sir Riot works really well, especially the original one, really well into an amp with the bright switch on and kind of a very sparkly kind of, hi-fi sounding clean. The Riot's going to work great into that because John Suhr actually really likes those kind of 80s sorts of cleans, sparkle and bright switches and those kind of, when we think about some of the clean tones, the real almost like sort of hi-fi quality cleans. Still tubey and nice and warm and all that, but with a real sparkle to them. John always liked those sounds, so he kind of voiced the Riot that way. Going to the Riot Reloaded, I think he might have, well, I don't know, I can't speak for how he designed it, but basically, you just want to keep that in mind, that's going to be the easiest way. Is the more neutral you can set your clean channel, the more pedals it's going to work with. It's always, everything's a little bit of a compromise, I guess. But try different settings on your EQ. Try everything. Start with everything on 5, maybe. Start with a bright switch off, and then listen to it on, and you'll find one of two things. It's like, oh, it actually sounds better with it on. And another great thing is to calibrate your ears. Like, this is real easy to do on a PT100 because it's got a great distortion channel. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll listen to channel 2 on the amp, and then I'll switch back to channel 1 and start to dial in my drives and go, okay, now I've got a good sort of reference for. Sometimes I could play a drive through channel 1 and go, I think that sounds about right. I'll switch to channel 2 and it'll be like darker or with more bass or with quite a bit more edge. Like, oh, that's a true Marshall sound when I hear channel 2, more edgy, or whatever. So I'll calibrate my ears because I know that the channel 2 is a great overdrive sound, and then I'll go back to channel 1 and start hitting the drives, and then I've got a better kind of distortion calibration going on in my mind. And so that's a hard thing to do, I guess, if you kind of have to wing it if you're just like running in your deluxe reverb or something. Okay, moving down. Frank says GetCon was great this year. It was a lot of fun. I didn't have a lot of time to get videos out, so you guys haven't even really seen anything that I did, but there's going to be stuff coming out starting tomorrow. And all this week, I imagine I'm going to be jet lagged all week and waking up super early, so I'll be editing videos and probably putting them out during the day. So I'll have lots of videos this week coming, some cool stuff. Videos with Phil X, the bass video, kind of bass lesson for guitar players. That's coming out tomorrow. Rick Beotto. With Andy from Reverb.com. I did a video with him, so all those things I got to get to editing, and as well as the video on my bass, my new bass, on the building of it. What do I think about vintage Charvels? I love them. When I first tried my first vintage Charvels, when they weren't vintage at the time, they were brand new guitars, but it was around 84, 85, and my local music store in my hometown got like 5 or 6 of them in. And it was like Christmas, man. I went down there and started playing these guitars because, everybody was using those guitars. Got 401 people online. That's awesome. It's the most I've had for a while. Stoked. Please hang around for a minute. But anyway, so, yeah, Mother's Music in Edmonton got these Charvels. And I can remember the day I went down and picked them up for the first time. They had ones with lightning bolts on them and stuff. And, and they just felt like nothing else. The necks, when I picked them up and played them, I was like, oh, my God, these guitars are so playable. So not long after that, I got my Jackson. And I'm actually having a Suhr built right now, and I'm having John digitize the neck of my Jackson that I got in '86. So it's going to have that kind of, classic Jackson sort of D-style neck and 16-inch radius and all. Very different than anything else that I've got right now, but I love the neck on that guitar because that's where I really practiced and learned how to play on. I shed on that guitar for, from '86 through the early 90s. That was when I probably made the most sort of leaps and bounds on guitar. That was my jam. So I'm gonna have a Suhr that has that neck or really close to it because he's got this way of digitizing necks so that he can make you a neck that feels exactly the same, basically, because he's a genius. What about multi-effects compared to normal pedals? There's great. I love the Helix. Here, this thing. Got this thing sitting right here on the table. This thing's awesome. And the fact that it does so much in this little pedal is pretty killer. And the fact that it'll fit on your board and be tiny, and the fact that it also does amp modeling and impulse responses and stuff is pretty amazing, I think. So I'm a fan of them, you know. Now, is it still my preference to have a bunch of pedals? Yeah, sure, because they're easy to tweak. The knobs are right. It's just cool. The modular pedal board approach is great. Johnny Marr does a great video on, I think it's like the Boss GT100 or something, and he you know, is a pedal guy, but he's got this video where he's gone in the Boss unit and he's moved to that. I don't know if he uses that all the time, but he's got one, and he shows how he kind of like recreated his tones using the GT multi-effect thing, and he was happy with it. He's like, it sounds great. I can get so close to my, you know, the tone of his pedals that he didn't, you know, didn't really care. So I think it's all about, you know, they're great tools for us musicians that don't always want to carry huge boards and stuff. I think it's great to use a combination of both. You guys see me use my pedal board with, you know, H9s on it and the DD500 and all that, but I've also got a bunch of individual pedals. So that kind of, and I think that's probably what most people do. Okay, serious question from Mac. Chris was saying, Chris Cam was asking, how's the studio coming along? I'm actually not getting started building until November 4th or so. So got plans in place, but nothing's happened yet. Max says, I'm building a new studio for those that don't know, like just building out a new space. I'm gonna have a cool new room and kind of going for it. It's probably not the smartest thing to do in the world, but it's gonna be cool. So Max says, do you think being able to sing a phrase or scale is an advantage? Yeah, totally. You want to be able to sing it in your head and then translate that through to the guitar. Always, if you can. That's the best thing. Keeps you from being, you know, too much of an in the box kind of guitaristic riff sort of player. If you're singing, you know, your first instinct should be whatever you would sing, whatever you hear, whatever's coming to your head. If you can translate that through the guitar, those are the guitar players that always sound the best to me. Do I think be able to, thoughts on indie players like Johnny Marr and Johnny Greenwood? How funny, I just brought up Johnny Marr. Love both of them. Love Johnny Marr. And Johnny Greenwood's super cool too. Johnny Marr, man, he's a great guitar player, and he writes, talk about a guy that writes cool guitar parts and comes up with some cool stuff. He's just terrific. The Hoppo says, you've answered quite a few of my questions already over the 38 shows. Here's just a small thanks. He's in the super chat. He sent me £5. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. You're too kind. And ask me as many more as you want. Liam says, what advice would I give to someone who has become really disheartened with their lack of progress and has found themselves stuck in a rut? I know it's hard sometimes. I would say try and get back to what made you want to play. What kind of music did you start out digging? And who are the guitar players? And, you know, and then get out and play with some friends. You know, go out and play live. Don't just play at home by yourself, because that can be a drag. Go out and have some fun, you know, local jams or start a band. Try and find get in your zone, you know. And then beyond that, as far as things to work on, and stuck in a rut, I really like the Jam Track Central lessons, because they're so kind of like, you can go to jamtrackcentral.com and download lessons from, like, I always recommend Laurie Basilio's or Mateus Asado. You know, they've Mateus is, for instance, is like he's got this beautiful, you know, like you see him play, like he comes up with these great videos he does and stuff on Instagram, and you always see these beautiful things he's playing. Well, there's a couple things on there where he breaks them down in, like, Jam Track Central, where it's like a full song basically of his style of playing, and he breaks down each little lick pretty much, you know, slow tempo, fast tempo. There's videos, there's audio of him doing it, and you can really garner a lot from that one lesson about kind of what his trip is, you know, or at least pick up a few of his little tricks that he does, his phrasing things and stuff. It's a wonderful lesson. So they're not expensive either, you know, so you can go there, and there's many on there for, I think, like $5. You get £5, you know, up to like maybe 25 or something. So go on there and download some stuff, watch some of the teasers from them, figure out which ones that you think you would like to learn, and then, you know, just download, like, and don't try and tackle too much at once. Just learn a lick or two and go, oh, I've never thought of playing that, like phrasing like that before. And even if you pick up one little thing that day, you've learned something and you've advanced and added it to your trick box, you know. So check out Jam Track Central for that. It's great. All kinds of different styles and different levels of playing. Mike says Phil X's and Pete's jamming of AC/DC was awesome. That was fun. A little Highway to Hell. Good times. Excuse me. Okay. Digoto wants to see my ring again. There it is. Hey man, thanks for putting up that video talking about Chris Cornell. Chris is my hero. And you're 17. You never got to see him. Yeah, I'm sorry that you never saw him play live. Going to see it. He was so good live. Really, really terrific. Either solo or in any of the bands he was in. He was terrific live. And moving down here. Preston says, Gear Gods is also live. Damn, I guess I'll stick it out here. Welcome back from GetCon, says Oxand. Would you recommend, what would I recommend for an amp with great clean dynamics and headroom? High dollar to reasonable. The Bella. Bella's, I got one sitting right over here. Got 430 people online almost. This is my biggest one in a while. This is great. Yeah, the Bella's, was made to be kind of beautiful, clean. The other one is the Kelly, which is another. Now, Sir's not making them anymore, but man, they sound good. The Kelly amps are wonderful. Talk about clean dynamics and headroom. There's tons there. It's a loud 60 watts, but clean. They sound just beautiful. What action do I prefer? Low or high? Low. I can't really play high action very well. Okay, moving down, kind of quicker. SRD says there will be no more music revolutions. Well, I don't think that's true. I think that history shows that they'll come along when you least expect it. You know, I think rock and roll kind of came out of the blue. Who would ever thought Jimi Hendrix was going to happen? You know, what is that? And then Van Halen, you know, and then kind of the sort of like the mainstreaming of hip hop and stuff. You know, that might not have been something that people would have predicted, but that happened, and I don't know. I mean, I think that it's not up to us. It's up to kids, you know, and they'll decide whether or not there'll be any more music revolutions, or whether they'll just quit playing music, or whether they'll be the best music ever. You know, it's not up to us. By us, I mean I'm not an old guy yet, I don't think, but I'm getting there. You know, it's going to be up to the 17-year-olds, you know, and they'll do what they want. The new Sir amp offerings sound like they're going to be killer when they're finally released. And just got a Bella that you love. How does the SL67 do with fuzz? Great. You could run. I mean, and do I have a favorite OD with it? Probably a Klon type or something with the SL67. But you know, you could use pretty much. The SL67 is very pedal friendly. You know, it's basically a 68 Marshall style circuit. So you're gonna be able to run big muffs or fuzz faces or clons or tube screamers to your heart's content into an amp like that and get great sounds. You know, and depending whether you blend in the normal channel or use a low gain input, you know, you can get all kinds of different levels of headroom and stuff. Let's see. Do you think the new Sir PT100 guitar amp plug-in by Brainworks will make its way to the Aux box? That's from Kurt. Well, the Aux is not an amp model. The Aux just does kind of what I call modeling the back end, which is just speaker models, and it's a load box then with some speaker modeling and effects. So it's not going to have any amp sims in it. You could use, well, yeah. It's not. It's really meant to be used with a UA interface. You have to use it with UA interface. That's how you load it. So, okay. Travis says he runs his multi-effects straight into the. Oh, I'm just gonna do one more. Somebody else is in the super chat here, so technically I should do those first. I'll get right back to your question. Sorry. I'm using a Sir reactive load, but it quiets down my amp a lot. Quiets down. That doesn't make sense to me because it's supposed to quiet your amp down. It's supposed to take it to line level. So, sorry, maybe you can tell me again. I won't answer your question right. That's from Nom112. So can you just ask me one more time? Can you kind of explain like what you mean? Your question says, "Hi Pete, I'm using the surreactive load, but it quiets down my amp a lot," which is an HK Grandmeister 36. Also any experience dialing into this amp? I've never tried that amp, no. But yeah, so I'm just not sure exactly what you're saying. But hit me back and I'll see if I can answer. Okay, the question was from Travis, the previous one. Run my multi-effects straight into the loop return only. Guitar effects unit loop return. Okay, got it. I use the Amp Sims Fractal Pod H500 FX. Those are your two devices, I guess, as the preamp. Am I missing out on anything by not doing 4-cable method? Well, it depends. If you run something like that 4-cable method, you are kind of missing out, because if you, for instance, if you use the fractal 4-cable method, what you're going to do is insert an effects loop module or whatever in order to get the fractal to work 4-cable, right? So you're kind of, what you're doing is you're turning your amp preamp into kind of like a pedal or something. Like you're putting it in the loop of the Axe effects is what you're really doing. So when you're running 4-cable, so you run into the Axe effects, come out of the Axe effects into the input of your amp, come out of the effects end of your amp into the return of your amplifier, right? Did I say that right? 4-cable. But anyway, long story short is you're going to the Axe effects first, and you're kind of inserting your amp's preamp into a loop in the Axe effects, right? And then you're coming out of the main out on the Axe effects into the effects return on your amp. Now what you can do when you do a setup like that is you can choose to use only the preamp of the Axe effects, or you can use the preamp of your amplifier. Okay, so the advantage to using it 4-cable method with certainly with your fractal would be, and I guess with the pod too, would be that you could choose one or the other. You know, if you want to use your amp's preamp, you can do that. If you want to use the fractal's preamp, you can do that. So that's what you're missing out on, actually. Hope that makes sense. Moving down, welcome home safe and sound, says Robert. Excuse me. And you're asking, GetCon didn't seem to put out as much content as last year. What's your take on that? Yeah, well, there was some internet upload issues, and also there was just the fact that we were all booked all the time, so there's no time to edit. You know, literally, like, I had no time. I made that first video the first day, and beyond that, I was working like 10 hours a day, and then I'd finally get to go eat dinner and stuff, and then like go do I'd be like thrashed at the end of the day, so I never got anything edited. So I've got a video coming out tomorrow, and I'll have videos coming out all week, and I think it's like that for just about everybody that was there. So you're going to see a flood of videos over the next 2 weeks from the attendees. You know, Rick Beotto managed to get our video out. Andy put out one with me, but I don't know how those guys found the time to edit. Because editing takes a long time. It takes like, I mean, this morning I spent, and this was a simple video to edit actually, but I spent from 4 a.m. because I was up because I was jet lagged until about 9 editing one video. So when you consider, you know, that's, you know, I can't count, no, it's 5 hours. 5 hours of editing. And basically that's about what you can expect to spend on each video. So if you're shooting videos all day long and then you're like, Kish, get something up today. Now I'm going to go edit for 5 hours, right? After working all day for like 8 hours, you're like, no, dude, I need to eat and I'm jet lagged and I need to get some sleep at some point today so I can get up and do this again tomorrow. So think of it as basically like when you're there, you're kind of collecting content and then go home. And, you know, somehow last year I had more time to edit. And I think it was for a couple different reasons, but this time I just worked the whole time. So yeah, I'll probably have about 7 or 8 videos, I guess, from there. I'm sure other people will have more. Do I still like the bass metal zone Wazza pedal? I've never tried that. Okay, moving down. I'm gonna stay on for about another 15 minutes, guys, and I'm gonna jet. Have I tested the Marshall Code 100? No, I have not. You say that your Zoom G3 sounds better. Yeah, I mean, first impressions count for a lot. If you plug it in, you can't get a good tone within 10 minutes or so. It's probably not for you. It's generally how I am. If I bond with it, I know in the first few notes, generally. Already home and back to work. Welcome back, says Chris. Thank you. Yeah, I got home yesterday. Do I like Andy Timmons pedals? I do, man. I love his the AT pedal. My song Dirty Town, that's how it started. It started as a demo for the Andy Timmons JHS pedal. Okay, I've had tinnitus since the late 1970s, says Mark. Mine got better. I used to have it a little bit, but Stretch says he just ordered a dry bell, Unit 67. If it weren't for my demo, I would not have seen it. Outstanding. Thank you. It is an outstanding pedal, man. It's killer. Reactive load with the ability to load IRs. Are you asking if that exists? That's from Cyanide Junkie. Okay. Moving down. Oh, I lost my place in the chat. It completely shot forward kind of far. Mike Johnson's in the super chat now. He just says he wants to say thank you for sharing your knowledge, passion, and joy. Thanks, man. 423 people. Yeah, I know it's a great crowd today. Thanks you guys for hanging out with me. It's really cool. Okay. Let's see here. I'm just going to start from a little bit further down the chat, guys. If I miss your question, I'm sorry, but I don't want to spend too long trying to find. My buddy Elscott Music says, saw Doug Pinnock yesterday playing just before Parliament Funkadelic at Harmon. No one slings a bass lower than Doug. That is true. And Doug's a cool dude all the way around. Sorry I missed this, but old guy is saying to somebody named Tim, he's saying you need to start slowly and stretch your hands before playing. Also, many hold the neck of the guitar like they were strangle it when they start. I think maybe you guys are talking about, I might have missed something about people talking about low-strung guitars or, warming up. I find that difficult, having the guitar too low. I kind of just don't bother with it these days. Preston Smith is stuck in a rut a while ago. Tom Quayle and Pete had a video a little while ago about targeted practice. Absolutely blew my mind. Check it out. It was good. It blew my mind. It was mostly Tom and just his great concept. There's one concept in particular that's really terrific in that video that he describes. So check that out. The video I did from GetCon with Tom Quayle last year. Thanks for mentioning that. Cole Parr says we need something original but also need kids behind it and a scene built around it. I agree. They'll figure it out, though. The kids shall inherit the earth. Okay. Somebody spouting some propaganda on my channel, so I have to say goodbye to them. Okay. Oh, man. Trying to figure out where I was here. Okay, does UAD amp sims like the Dirty Shirley sound and record good if you plug it into the effects return to get real valve juice from the power amp section? So I just tried that. That's from Marcus. I just tried that. Check out the video I did with Andy at GetCon. Andy from reverb.com, and you can hear me doing that exact thing with the PT100 plugin. See what you think. I think it sounded pretty cool. I had never tried it. And once I figured out when I got there, I had this idea like, oh, I'm going to be able to use my plugin. I'll just plug it in, and then we'll listen to it through the monitors at GetCon, and be able to record it. But they were like, oh, no, we don't have any monitors here. All we've got are the guitar amps. So I was like, okay, I guess what I'll do is try running out of my recording interface into the power amp return of an available amplifier and see how it sounds. Sounded pretty cool. So check that out it's in my GetCon playlist right now. You can hear how that works. It definitely works. Owen's son says, if you ever find time, I'd love to see more amps in the zone videos. So the next one I want to do is an AC31. I need to build my studio first, though. So I'm going to build the studio out, and then I'll have a new room I can put cabs in, kind of an ISO room. It's going to be very small, but it's big enough to move some air, kind of like Tim Pierce's, what he does. And there's a great AC30 over at my space now, and it's a really cool one that used to belong to Dave Friedman, actually. So I can use that for a vintage one. I think he'll let me use it. And I've got my AC15 as well, my hand wired, and I've got a divided by 13 RSA 31. That's a great AC30. It's basically an AC30, so I can use all those in the video. Okay. Moving down. Was there conflicts pre-GetCon? Nope. Not with me. Nothing to do with me. That's from Steve D. Golfer. Rick Ausa says, my emceeing the final panel session at GetCon was great. Can you headline this format on my channel on a regular basis? Yeah, I mean, I'd love to. You know, to get some people together for a chat like that. Maybe a smaller, you know, maybe 3 people or something. Kind of smaller, more intimate group might be a good thing. But, you know, if I could get, you know, it'd be a great thing to maybe a themed Tim and Pete show and get one guest or something like that, and we could just bat around a topic like that. Let's see. The Queen channel says sounds very quiet and tinny. That's from Nom. Okay, so it does it. So you're finding it sounds different through a cabinet. You know, it could just be. One thing you might want to try and make sure that you're not just perceiving it that way is try like miking up a cabinet if you get the chance and listening to it, and then try using the reactive load and recording the sound of your using Kettner amp through that and adding a similar impulse response. So just make sure that, you know, kind of compare apples to apples as close as you can by miking up a cabinet and then listening to the amp through an IR or something that's really similar to, you know, same mic, same type of speaker in general. If you can, just come close to it and make sure it's not just the way that the amp sounds, because it's a very different experience using a reactive load or loading down an amplifier and recording it than it is sitting in a room with a cabinet that's actually moving air, and, you know, you're sitting right beside it, it's reacting with the room and stuff. But when you stick a close mic up on that speaker cabinet, and now you're close mic in the cabinet and you record it, if you're not used to doing that, you might be surprised what comes back. What comes back might not sound to you like you think it's going to. Does that make sense? You know, like miking cabinet. Many people say they have the experience of like, oh, my amp sounds great in the room, and then I mic it and I go listen to it in the control room. It's like, that's not what it sounds like out there. Well, it can be just the fact that the speaker's here, you're sticking a microphone on it right here, and that's the sound you're hearing instead of hearing the amp react with the entire room and stuff, if that's what you're used to. So maybe that's the issue. But that would be my recommendation, is what you should do is try miking up the real thing. Mic up a cabinet close, 57 or whatever, and then listen to an IR with the reactive load in the same amp, same settings, as close as you can find an IR that's similar. And then if there's still an issue, then, you know, get back to me. 32-bit or 24-bit gear, says Amar. Do I track stereo? This is in the super chat, so I'm going to answer your questions. Converters are so good now. If they're 24-bit, 96K, or 32-bit, it doesn't really matter for guitar, because guitar is just lo-fi, you know. So it's not really a concern. If you're just talking about recording in general, I mean, whatever you're going to get converter-wise out, I'm very happy with the UA converters, or, you know, whatever's going in a modern Apogee or UA. Good enough for me to make records with. Do I track stereo? Sometimes. If I'm doing like a rotary guitar part, or if I need something that if I'm using something that I'm where an effect is bouncing around and it's coming out of a pedal, and it's supposed to be a specific thing, you know, or maybe you're recording a Leslie cabinet or something, I'm going to record that stereo. So the answer is it depends. You know, if I want it to be stereo, but it's something that I can get out of a plugin or something, I'll probably just do the stereo after the fact. What do I set the buffer to? Like when I'm recording, 64 usually. If you got a good fast computer, you should be able to get away with that, no problem. Variants with sound with plugins, and what is my favorite? Bias, Guitar Rig, V-Stomp. My favorite is my PT100. If you're talking about using guitar amp plugins, and other, I use their bass amps all the time. The Brainworks in general have the best guitar amp plugins to me. They sound great. Bias I like. I've used it. I haven't used Guitar Rig for years. Used to sound good to me, but it's been 10 years since I've spent any time with Guitar Rig. Bias I got some pretty good tones out of. Mercurial is another one. This company from Russia. Check out the video I did on their Marshall amp plugin. Nice. Sounds good. Good stuff. Okay. Old guy says the vids weren't really edited, laugh out loud. Didn't seem that way, at least. Are you talking about the videos that came out from the live streams and stuff, or from the jams, or I think you're talking about the GetCon videos that you're saying weren't really edited, or maybe other attendees' videos that you felt like weren't that edited. It takes time, just takes time to edit video to do it properly. Great performance and discussion at GetCon. That's from No Camp. Thank you. Moving down. Do I use treble bleed on my Sur? Yes. It has the standard Sur cap resistor setup in it, my guitar, which he's got a formula for it that you could probably find it easily on the internet. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's a pretty stock setup and it works perfect to me. I like it. I like to be able to roll down and get the, roll down to 7. You have basically the same sound with the same amount of high end, but cleaner. Okay, Pete, then edit 5 hours video. Better Pete than edit 5 hours video. Make 1 hour live stream guitar. Oh, that's what I'm doing right now. Hi from Calgary, says Shane. Were there any gigs in the evening like last time? Yeah, there was at GetCon. That's from Showman Blues. Yeah, there was like jams. Loosey-goosey jams. And this chat jumped all the way down. Sorry, folks. Just see if I can figure out where we were here. Okay, I'm just going to start here. Just bought a UA Aux. Can't wait to check it out properly when I get home. Says Tom Quayle. What's up, buddy? We were just talking about you. We were talking about the lesson that we did last year at GetCon, which I just loved. Yeah, you know what was neat about that was we just shot that in a little conference room, and on an average, my Sony Handycam didn't use anything special, just the microphone built in on the camera, and that was one of my favorite things I did there. So you don't really need like the pro video studios and all that stuff. It's just getting the people in the room together. It's more about the personalities and stuff, and then the content. And, yeah, it's great if you can, the ultimate audio, blah, 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 but it doesn't really matter, does it? It's all about, more being a fly on the wall and about, me being able to be there with somebody like Tom, he's so knowledgeable. It was great. Shauna Marie Singh says, we love you, Pete. Thank you. Love you too. Love you guys. Glad to have you back, says Guitar Hack. Thank you. Where in my pedal chain do I like the dry bell pedal? I would put it pretty close up front because it's a vibe and also sorry, you're talking about the Unit 67, aren't you? But same thing. It's a range master and it's also a compressor. So mainly because of the compression factor, you're going to want to put it pretty close to the front of your chain, certainly before any other drives and stuff, so that it doesn't accentuate too much noise, because it does add noise because it's a compressor. So, but it's worth it. You'll hear if you get one. It's badass. What do I think of the Seymour Duncan pedal power amp? That's from Rocamp. Rocamp. On the pedal board as a backup. It's great. You could use something like that with like this for like some amp models, and you'd have a cool little rig. Run that into a cabinet, and that would work pretty good. Have I ever tried Outlaw effects? No, I have not. Okay. Oh, you guys were talking about warming up and his hands hurting after playing. Yeah, you should definitely warm up if you have, and back off if you're getting any kind of pain in your hands. Take it easy and definitely don't strain yourself. Good warm-ups are important. Stretching sometimes is a good thing. I've had issues with my hands over the years. My friend John does some good ones where he puts his hand against a wall, pretend this is the wall, and kind of just does that, and then he goes, just kind of like different ways, like this, the hand against the wall. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, and you can do things like that and just kind of stretch out before you play. It's good. Why do so many guitarists place so much emphasis on the cabinet when close miking on stage? Seems that only the guitarist would benefit. Kinda. Sort of true. You can get really heavy sounds out of a 112. I mean, like a little Bogner 112 can sound just stellar mic'd up. But there's something about when you turn them up, that, you know, something about a 412 and the way that the bass, it's like how an 810 bass cabinet sounds different than a 410, or like a 412 guitar cabinet sounds different than a 212 or a 112. They're less boxy. You can run less bass on the amp because the cabinet produces its own low end, and it has this bigness on its own. I don't know how else to describe it. So where a 112 is going to sound boxy, a 212 is going to sound a little... The 212 is a nice thing. For most of us, a 212 is fine, I think. I mean, that's what my PT cabs are, 212s. But a 412 has this really nice coupling thing. It just has a really wonderful feel to it. I don't know how else to describe it. And yeah, you're right. It is for mostly the guitarist on stage that would benefit. But because the guitarist on stage is benefiting, don't you want to have a good time when you play? And you play differently when the tone's really great. So that's why most people do it, because it just feels different. So, okay. Let's see here. What's my favorite cover solo to do? Says Shauna Marie. I don't know. I don't really know. I guess my own. I just like playing my own stuff mostly these days. Cover solos. I mean, there's all kinds of them out there that I love, you know. But I used to have a lot of fun playing the Hotel California solo, just because, like, whoa, I'm on stage playing Hotel California, and that's Don Henley playing the maracas right behind me. That's pretty cool. That's a rush. Segueing into Desperado. You're like, this encore does not suck. Bought a Sir Classic S, says Benjamin, after seeing how much you and Ian Thornley saw Big Wreck at the Commodore, and he blew me away. He's amazing. Also, Joey Landreth loves the Sir, too. When do I get my Aura, says Chris. John swears he's got this gold top that he's going to dress the frets for me and let me take it. So, at least to check one out. I hope so. Will I do a full studio walkthrough video once my new studio is done? Absolutely, as well as, you know, build videos and stuff like that. I got to do that. Okay, guys, I'm going to jet pretty soon and get another 5 minutes or so. What guitar am I playing on Kyushu Blues on my new record, and who is Rosemary? So the song Rosemary had originally started out being a song that had lyrics to it, and I was in a band that was called Rosemary's Loon, which is just like me and a singer, really. And so I thought, what am I going to call this thing? Because this song, you know, we never ended up releasing a record or anything like that. Broke the thing up or whatever. And I thought I need something to call this piece. And I thought, oh, well, it's like a little ode to the band I was in when I wrote that piece, because it used to have words and everything. So this is a long time ago, though. That little riff has been kicking around for 20 years or something. And I went, well, I'll make a little instrumental song out of it. So I called it Rosemary. Rosemary. Kyushu Blues is my old Strat, my 64 Strat through my SL68. I'm using a Vemaram Shanks fuzz, and it's the 412 with blackbacks that I have, original old blackbacks. That's the majority of the tones. Also, some of the solos are my white Sir Classic S, which I've been neglecting lately. I got to play that guitar more. Okay. Moving down. How was it to jam with Divinity at GetCon? You know, I never got to play with her, actually. She was really nice, though. We chatted and stuff like that. But now that I think about it, we never played a song together. I don't think we did. It's just too bad. Moving down. How about Chop Tones IR? I think I tried some. I don't remember, honestly, to be honest. I think but they're a company that sells them, right? I would like to try them and give you an educated opinion. Will I be doing more vids with Tim Pierce? I'm sure, yeah. We did our kind of ill-fated live stream, which didn't go very well, but we're going to try and get that together. I think do another one that would be much better. The better camera angle and better video. You know, we were having problems just getting the streaming going because Tim's internet was a little bit slow up at his place. But mine was slow when he'd never tried it before. It was the first thing, and mine was slow here, and I used to have problems too. So you live and learn, kind of, you know. It was something I probably neglected to double check and should have mentioned him before we tried it. So we'll do it again. We'll get it together. Moving down. Can I tell you which studio monitor I recommend to use, and what factor to take consideration in the room? That's from Javier. I really like Javier. Sorry, excuse me. I like the Atom studio monitors a lot for kind of like mid-priced, or they have some lower end ones too, but I really like them. And Dynaudios are pretty cool too. I have a pair of those here. I have the Mark III BM5 Mark IIIs. BM6s sounded too big to me, so I have the BM5 Mark IIIs. Both good. I'd say those Dynaudios or the Atoms. Either one of those I'd recommend. And considerations in the room, for sure, I've got bass traps in all four corners of my room, and I also have acoustic diffusion going on either side of me. If you can't hear right, you're going to have a problem mixing. So go to atsacoustics.com and look at some of the things that they offer. They offer great, inexpensive solutions as far as tuning a room, bass traps, panels on the wall, clouds to fly over the desk, all that kind of stuff. And what you want to kind of do is deaden down and trap bass around your mix area, at least. If you got a hard floor, a carpet underneath your desk can go a long way. The whole floor doesn't have to be hard, but you can kill some stuff right underneath your desk with like an area rug or something. And definitely bass traps in the corners. The one thing not a lot of people get right. I see a lot of people just put panels up on the wall, but their corners are wide open. The bass in a room in the corners is where the low frequencies build up. So what you want to do is trap bass, and you can go and look at atsacoustics.com, like I say, and you can see some of the bass traps. They're usually double thick with open backs on them. You can mount them on the wall in the corners with the back open, so the bass will go into the corner and go into that stuff, and it kind of looks like insulation, and it'll soak up that bass and keep from too much low frequency buildup, because you can't really hear what's going on if the low frequencies are building up in your corners. Most of us are in square or rectangular rooms. They're not built like studios with lots of angles and things. The problem in rooms is you get standing waves developing. Standing waves mean when things build up because there's parallel walls going on. You get certain frequencies that build up louder than others, and it really just creates a confusing listening environment when you're trying to mix and record. So ATS Acoustics, check them out. Really good stuff for my panels in my room. Having said that, were custom made by a guy, but I used to use the ATS stuff, and I thought it was quite good for what it was, for kind of an easy to purchase, available on the internet kind of solution. I'm using an IR in the DAW. Was that from somebody else's? Oh, that's it. Robert's trying to help Nom Nom with his IR issues and his load box issues. And once again, Tippers is saying, do I have treble bleed in my Sur? Yes, I do. Get treble bleed. It's not just a capacitor. It's a cap and resistor together. So guys, I gotta go. I'm gonna go all the way to the end of the chat here and just answer the last few questions. Peter says, to the gent with the HK Grandmeister, the red box output sounds just like the amp and cab mic'd up, simple and effective. The internal effects sound great that way as well. Yeah, I like the red box. I think it's pretty good. I would still prefer load box than IRs, but that's just me. But the red box is nice and simple, and it's not a bad choice for sure. I think that's pretty good advice, Peter. You should try that as well. But I love IRs. If you guys haven't seen, by the way, I put up a video on the Sur channel. I didn't put it up, they did, but I recorded it on the Sur reactive load, all about everything you could possibly ever want to know about the Sur reactive load, because they get a lot of questions about how to connect it, how to plug it in, how to use it with IRs, how to do all kinds of things with it. And I made a long video for them one day, because they said we want a kind of a video that we can just direct people to if they're having issues with the thing. So that's on the Sur channel now, if you want to check that out. And if you have any questions on, really it applied to just about any reactive load. Okay. Let's see, moving down. Does a 212 work well for small amps at home volumes, says Showman Blues. Well, it depends what you consider low volume. Most people, what they consider low volume, which is like going to be like the volume of their television or something, is incredibly low power. Like I've got my little Marshall 1 watt here, the JTM1, and if I run it on 1 watt, it's too loud for like this room and this environment. Too loud would mean I would piss off neighbors. The 0.1 watt setting is about the volume of my television at a reasonable listening volume, so it's like that's a great volume for running. So, what are you going to do? It's honestly, I think that the best thing to do is load down the amp and use it through headphones or studio monitors. That's the main thing I do for the last number of years, rather than try and like get a have a 212 amp with 30 watts or something, and it's going to be so loud. If the amp is cranked to the point where I think an amp should be, which is kind of okay, we got the amp up, it's working a little bit. That with a 212 cabinet, if anything over 10 watts is going to be just bonkers in most listening. I'm talking about for pissing neighbors off. I'm not talking about enjoyment. I'm talking about actually functionally using something at that volume is a difficult thing to do for most of us. That don't have, unless you've got a studio. Okay, last couple things here. Does the Apex preamp sound good as any high gain amp model on Axe Effects or Kemper? Well, it's a pedal, really, at the end of the day. Are you saying when you're running it direct? I would say no. It works pretty good using it direct, but it's still a pedal. It's an analog. It's like an analog stomp box that's going to, I think that the best digital modeling is, I think even the guys that make it are probably going to tell you that it's going to, an Axe Effects is going to be, you're talking about a very, very powerful tool compared to like a simple analog circuit in a box. As a pedal, sounds great. I mean, it has a terrific sound running into, you could either run it into a power amp or run it right into the clean channel of a good amp, and it's going to sound really good. You hear it kind of reflected in the video, I think. But anyway, it's a really good pedal. But yeah, it's got a usable sound coming right out of the pedal, like direct. I don't know that I would use it that way, because what do you do for a clean sound then? If you turn the thing off, now you've got a direct into the board clean sound. That doesn't work, and I like to play clean much of the time. So I still feel like I would still want to run it into the front of an amp. But why don't Marshall slant cabs sound as good as straight? Well, it's purely physics, I think. I mean, it's maybe you just, well, it's, in my opinion, it's because there's more volume inside the cabinet. More space by volume is what I mean. There's actually more physical space in the cabinet where the speaker's mounted to the baffle or whatever, and it's like, rather than when it's angled back and you're closing off some of that, it's just the physical dimensions of a B style cabinet. I think most of us like them better. I still like A style cabinets, like the sound of some of them, but I think pretty much 9 times out of 10 I would pick the B style cabinet. Let's see here. Skellys Woodshed says, there's too many things people add on to play the guitar. What happened to just 1 or 2 pedals and into the amp? Well, different strokes, right? Like, there's still plenty of people that do that are just simple. You don't have to do anything. You can do whatever you want, I mean, generally speaking, though, I agree. The best guitar sounds were created. I mean, by the best, I mean, whatever. But the ones that you hear on classic rock radio every day, or on, even active rock radio or modern rock radio or whatever, are generally just a couple things running into an amp. I mean, pick any song you can think of, and there's your example, basically. There's generally not, it's just kind of true, It's just sort of a truth. But then we could say Owner of a Lonely Heart. That was a really cool guitar sound, and there was obviously some crazy shit going on there with compression and chorus and, in the clean part, and then the harmonizer and the solo and the heavy distortion part, which is a rat, I think. I'm not 100% sure about that, but there's a lot of tones in that, and there was definitely some gear going on. So, yeah, no. Do I ever play country music? Not really. I like it, some of the guitar playing, but not really, no. I've never been in a country band or anything like that. Is there something out there by UA or any other company that acts like the aux without the recording stuff built in? Well, the reactive load, I would say, or something like that, or possibly like a 2 Notes product. Acts like the aux, you mean like acts as an attenuator too. I mean, because there's all kinds of different stuff, right? You know, load boxes and reamps, and between Sir 2 notes, UA with the aux, Fryette. You know, look at some of those and see if there's something out there that'll do what you want that doesn't necessarily have the digital recording out. What's the best IR loader for live use? I found the most convenient to be the 2 notes still to this day, because the rack mount, they've got presets with a big knob that you can just turn on the front, go from, you know, it's a nice live device to use. So best, I'm probably going to say that. Yeah, the 2 notes. They're rock solid. Work really, really, really good for an IR loader. You know, if you're not using the load box in it, if you're still running through to a cab or something, it's kind of an expensive proposition, even like a Torpedo Live at like $700 or something, or whatever they are, because, you know, but so, you know, if you're purely looking for an IR loader, you could get, there's cheaper stuff out there. I've got a Moorer here that I haven't had a chance to get to yet. It's right down here on the floor, and so it's their kind of IR loader. I gotta give it a try and see how it works. I'm sure it's probably good. Another great one, by the way, is the Blue Guitar Blue Box. Now, you can't load your own into it, but the ones in it are awesome. So that's Thomas Blue, how do you say his last name? Can't remember. But Thomas from Blue Guitar. Thomas Blug is his name, actually. And that thing is just terrific. It's a small box, about the size of a pedal, you know, just speaker in, XLR out, that kind of thing. Really, really terrific sounding cabinets in that thing. Some of the 412s are to die for, man. The 1970 Greenback 412 is primo. It sounds great. Honestly, it's like you could load your own, but you're going to be able to get such a good sound out of that thing that, you know, there's really no reason to look any further. You should give it a try. Terrific sounding box, I think. Okay, I'll go all the way to the end here. Didn't I do the radar? Yes, I did a thing on the Thomas Blug. Yeah, it says Purple Rocket. Didn't I do the radar? I did a thing on the radar, but there's another. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I said Moore when I said a new pedal. I meant to say Nuix. There's a Nuix IR box that I've got here. That's what I meant. Apologies to the Nuix guys. Yes, I've done the Moore radar. Moore radar is a great kind of budget. Sounds great. Really, really tiny. If you need something that's got a few more features, like the, you know, XLR outs and stuff, and it's a little more, maybe you look into the Blue Guitar or Blue Box, as well as this new X one that I got to get to. But you want a great sounding reverb pedal, says Stealth Parrot, Blue Sky or an H9. Love the black hole algorithm in the H9. For less money, the Hall of Fame's great. There's some great stuff that you can get. The Ventris, terrific. I just used it at GetCon, found something, and I was like, man, that sounds good. The Flint is great for kind of a simpler thing. You know, it's also got killer tremolo built in. Gotta be able to get what you want out of all that. I got another one here. Oh, look at this. This is the White Whale. This is a spring reverb. Can you hear the spring rattle? Got a spring in it. So this is a spring in a pedal. This is from Crazy Tube Circuits. So I got to do something with this pretty soon. The video. Pretty neat. By the way, one more cool thing. This is a great delay. Oh my God, this thing sounds good. Echotopia from Crazy Tube Circuits. 4-head tape delay style thingy. So you get stereo modulated echoes going that are dark and luscious and to die for. This is cool. Check that out if you get a chance. The Echotopia, Crazy Tube Circuits. I fell in love with it at the guitar show in Germany last month that I was at. Okay, I gotta go, but Robert, it just keeps coming. What can I use for cutting down noise while recording to my UA Twin? Use like a gate or something. Use a Rockman. Come on, MXR Smart Gate is a great thing. Get an MXR Smart Gate. Really good. What do I recommend for an OD pedal looking to tighten up your sound on the low end and cut through the mix Try the Horizon one. It's got that low end cut knob in it. That's really nice for driving like an already driven amp and adding gain but yet tightening it. Really cool. The Precision Drive, I think it's called. And I have gear all of that. I'm sitting right, that's an old guy. I'm sitting right in the place here where at home I have a bunch of pedals and stuff that I have to get to. So I've got like a bunch of stuff right at my feet right here. So I can actually easily pick things up and show them to you. Yeah. Never heard of Bad Crazy's Tube Circuits pedal, says Paul. Me neither. They're really, really good pedals. For a small pedal company, they're absolutely one of my favorites. It sounds so good. How do you hold back when jamming when you have the ability to throw it down at any point? Love your playing, says Dwayne. Thanks, man. I don't. I like to just start slow and kind of have a. If you can get a jam going where people will give you the time to just kind of build a little bit and say something, that's the ultimate, you know. That's the most fun part, is trying to take people on a little ride. And I still feel like I'm learning how to do that, like how to, pace myself musically. And it's something that I think gets lost in a lot of music these days. It's like people need to pace themselves more. Just take it easy, like there's plenty of time. Start slow. Don't even start on the downbeat. That's a big one. When your solo starts, let half a bar go by before you start playing. You'll sound like way more mature. That's one thing that somebody taught me one day that I took to heart, and I think is really important. Have I tried the UAD Century Tube channel strip, says Kurt? Yes, and I love it. Actually, it's great. Great DI on bass I've used it for. It's cool. All right, you guys. I'm going to jet. So this was really fun, and thanks for so many people joining me here. And a lot of you guys probably stuck it out the whole time. I really appreciate it. 375 people online still. It's awesome. So I'll be around next week, and hopefully be over my jet lag by then. And I hope you guys all have a terrific week. Be safe out there, and keep on rocking. See ya.